Hello there. In this video, I will go through the generation of input files and their execution using GAMESS. Well, input file is essentially a text file containing a set of commands that can be passed on to a software for execution and resulting in meaningful results. Here what you are seeing is an example of input file to carry out the energy calculation, the RHF energy calculations on our CH4 molecule. Well, input files can be generated using any text editor, but the simplest ones to work with are Notepad and Notepad++. Personally, I use and recommend Notepad++ because it provides advanced features such as auto spacing and have a nice working environment, as you can see, compared to simple looking Notepad. So an input file is divided into a set of scripts or input cards, as they are called in the case of the GAMESS input files. Well, each of these cards has its own specificity and contains a certain portion of information needed by the software. Now, each input card starts with $sign, as you can see, and ends with a $end. After $sign, it's followed by the name of the input card, and then it have input variables with assigned values inside the input card. Well, let me just go over to a new file and start everything from the scratch. The number of input cards in any input file is not fixed, right, and depends on the calculation you are performing. However, any GAMESS input file must have the following three input cards. One is the very first is the control card, the next one is the basis card, and the last one is the data card. Now there is also another card, sometimes considered important, called the system card, which is usually required only for computationally costly calculations when certain system attributes need to be changed. Now let's turn to a discussion on the three input cards, and the very first card is a control card. Well, okay, let's start. So, as I already said, every input card starts with the $sign followed by the name. Then it contains certain variables. Okay, I'll come to them after a while, and it ends with a $end, right? In between whatever comes are the input variables. Well, the very first variable is the SCF type variable. SCF type variable is the variable which assigns the calculation you want to perform. Example, RHF calculation, that is the restricted hard-to-fork calculation, UHF calculation, that is unrestricted hard-to-fork calculation, or RHF, that is restricted open shell hard-to-fork calculation. Now, let's say I want to do RHF calculation on a certain molecule. So let me set this to RHF. The next input variable is run type. Well, using this method, what do you want to do on a molecule? Well, let's say I want to do energy calculation. So I will type out this energy variable value. Then the next variable is code variable. Well, this variable decides the coordinate system you are providing the data of your molecule in. So there are a set of coordinate systems, there are different kinds of coordinate system, like some of them are pretty much famous, the XYZ coordinate system, the Z-matrix coordinate system. Well, Z-matrix coordinate system, or ZMT, which I also want to use over here, is the simplest one. Well, it also depends on a molecule which coordinate system you want to use, but Z-matrix is the common coordinate system which is used. Well, if you don't know about ZMT as the case for most of you, well, then don't worry. I would like to discuss this coordinate system in the upcoming videos. So the next there are two more variables, iCharge and mult. That is iCharge and mult, which are generally provided in control card, but you will not require them unless you're working with a non-neutral species. Like if you're working with a CH4 molecule or a S2O molecule, then they are neutral species, right? They are not radicals, they don't have any charge, they are not cation, they are not anions, so you don't need these variables to be assigned over there. Basically, what these variables cover, well, iCharge, as the name also denotes the charge on your molecule. Okay, that's in the case of question negative, iCharge value is -1. Well, on the other hand, mult variable assign the multiplicity of a molecule. Well, in most of the cases, we used to work with the ground state of the molecule, and in those cases, most of the molecules which you work are the singlet molecules, so multiplicity value will directly be equal to 1. That's the default value which a control card takes if you do not provide the value of multiplicity. So let's leave them for now. So the next input card is the basis card. See, that's what I was talking about, auto spacing. Anyway, so the next card is basis card. So like every input card, it will start with a $sign followed by basis, and then you have to include the information about the basis set you are working with. For example, if you want to work with a Gaussian basis set like 6x31G, you would need to input specific commands depending on the basis which is required. So let's go with the same basis, that is 631G, as I just spelled. So for that you have to type in command G basis, because 631G is a quotient basis, equal to n31, where n goes, will take the value of 6. Now what is it, how you're assigning basis, and much information about these input cards and the input variables inside them, you will be able to find in this docs input.txt file, which comes up with the GAMESS package. So this file is pretty much like a help guide for the GAMESS, and so it contains data about every input card. Like I say, okay, I want to search about the control card, have everything related to control card, where it's used, how it's used, in what combination it is used, all of the information get from here. Let's return. Okay, so this is the second important basis card. Now the third basis card, which is the most important of all of them, is the data card. Well, what is data card? Well, data card is okay, let's type it. So data card. So what is data card? Well, this card includes the coordinates of a molecule. Now, before performing any calculations on a molecule, you need to provide its geometry, which can be provided in a coordinate system such as x, y, z, or z empty. In the next video, I'll explain how to generate geometric coordinates for a molecule in both x, y, z, and z empty coordinate systems, as I already discussed. For now, let me type in the geometry for an example molecule, which in this case will be a very simple molecule, the water molecule. So, the coordinates for the water molecule will be we'll start with the atomic symbol oxygen O, then you come to hydrogen, and you say okay with 1. Okay, and as usual this card will also have the dollar end. So now that our input card, our input file to carry out the energy calculations on a water molecule is completed. Now note that there are certain allowed positions in the input file where you can add comment lines starting with an exclamation mark. So all these lines you are seeing over here starting with exclamation mark are nothing but the comment lines. Okay, now there's a thing with the comment lines that you cannot mention them anywhere you want in the input file, but there are certain localized spaces where only you can type in these comment lines. So you can type in the comment line at the starting of your input file, then the next position of typing in your input your comment line is just after the data card. Now this input line, which I just mentioned over here, is necessary. You have to mention it, okay, because it cannot take a space in here, an empty line in here. So you have to type in a comment line over here, you have to type in a comment line over here too. Now in between you cannot type comment line anywhere. Then at the last, if you want, well, you will not actually use this much, but if you want you can type in any comment line over here. Okay, so that's pretty much with our input file. Now let's go to the GAMESS and try to execute our input file. Now before that you have to save your input file, right?
To save your file, input file, you have to go to files, and then you have to go to save as, and then you have to save your input file by going to GAMESS, then going inside inputs, and in this input folder you have to save your GAMESS file, the .init extension. Okay, so .init extension is what GAMESS take as input file, and then after getting it, it's very easy. Just click on save. With this, let's go to the GAMESS and try to execute our file. So GAMESS, as you know, the default location of GAMESS is I'm just showing you the path, okay, is this, and at the end you will find the terminal. Okay, so let's execute our input file. So as you might already know how to run input file, how to execute an input file in GAMESS, so you just have to type in this particular command, run gms.bat. By the way, it's also mentioned over here. Okay, so to run any GAMESS calculation you have to type in this command. So run gms.bat, then you have to find the location where your input file is, so it's in inputs folder, and then comes the name of the input file, and the name of the input file is water.imp, then comes the version name of your GAMESS software, so it's 2.2 r2.intel, followed by 1, and okay. so now our file is undergoing execution. So that's there. So okay, so it's finally executed. Now the very first thing you should do after execution is you should go to the very last of the file, your output, and you should look out for this particular statement, that is the execution of GAMESS terminated normally. Well, this is this statement at the end of your output ensures that every particular calculations runs pretty much in the manner it should have happened. So yeah, so if it says otherwise over here, let's say execution of GAMESS terminated abnormally, or some other thing, then there's some error in your input file. Maybe it's some alphabetical error or error due to some indentations, or you forgot to end some input card, so you have to look out for that. One more thing I want to clarify over here is that if you go to your input file, then one thing you will see over here is that every input card initialization and the input card name and the input variable is defined with only 6 syllables. Okay, as you can see, it cannot be more than 6. It is most of the time it's 6 or less, so that you have to keep in mind. So that will also help you to learn the name of these input cards and input variables. Okay, so one more thing I want to highlight is the most common error which might occur while you are creating an input file is that the resemblance of these keywords, these input variables, let's say, or the name of the input file with the word which they mean. Okay, like say control card. So basically it contains the control variables of your input file. Okay, so you might think that it should spell like CONTROL. That's the usual spelling of control, but just look at over here, there is no O after R. Okay, so it's just CONTRL. So you have to keep these tiny things in mind while creating your input file. Okay, so they pretty much resemble with the word they actually mean, like say code for coordinates, or this SCF tip for SCF type, but there's a little bit difference in the way they type. So let's go back to again our output. So this is our output. So we had done the RHF calculation on our H2O molecule. So let's go to the top of the file. So here it's our input card which we just put in. Okay, and then here comes the coordinates which we substituted in form of set matrix in our input file, and here the game has converted the entire coordinates in terms of in Cartesian coordinate system. Well, this is quite necessary. So one more thing I want to mention over here is that GAMESS software taking the coordinates in form of in XYZ coordinates, but you can provide, and generally the coordinates are provided in set matrix coordinate system. But ultimately GAMESS, even if you provide the coordinates in set matrix coordinate system, as generally people do and generally it is done, GAMESS will convert the coordinates, parametric coordinates, first into the Cartesian coordinates, and then basically it will perform the execution of that particular input file. So that's pretty much some deep insight in the GAMESS. But let's go to our ground state energy, which was the basic aim of this calculation. So RHF calculation, and yes, so under this RHF calculation section you will find the data related to nuclear energy and the energy calculated with each equation. Okay, and finally over here you will find out your final RHF energy. So you can see that it gives us the value up to 10th decimal point, but generally it is accepted only up to 8 decimal place. This is it, and here's your output. Now one thing you might notice in this output is that it's more of in a clumsy way and not in some ordered pattern. So here comes the use of the GUI for GAMESS. So GUI for GAMESS is WX MacMol plot. It's very good GUI. By using this GUI, that is the MacMol plot, you can visualize your same output in form of an output file and access all the calculated values, which you can see over here in more organized way than what is seen over here. Okay, So let's go to our GUI. So the download link is there in the description of this video, so you can go to that and download your plot. So let me just go quickly on this GUI. So over here is the GUI for our GAMESS. Now first thing you have to do before going to GUI is that you have to save your output as in form of output file. So to do that, type in the previous command and then type in the name by which you want to save your input file. So usually people prefer the same name for the output file as they used for the input file for easy identification of the output file, okay, associated with the input file. So the output file goes with the extension of .log. Okay, so it's finally saved. So now you can go to our GUI, okay, you can go to files, you can go open. So output files are generally stored inside the GAMESS folder itself. So here it is, water.log. Let's open it. Okay, there it is. So this is our water molecule. This is in the geometry which we passed in our input file. To the same reason, you can see that there was something, I think I provided quite a long bond length. That's why these bonds are not shown as to be completed. These are just introduction which is shown. Anyway, so so to see the outputs associated with your molecule, you can just go to sub window, and here you can see everything about your molecule, every specifics about your molecule, which is calculated by the GAMESS software. So if you go to the energy plot, then you will see energy listed over here, the energy, the ground state energy of a molecule, the HF energy. If you go to coordinates, then you'll be able to see the coordinates of your molecule in form of Cartesian coordinates, and also you can go here and see the coordinates in form of matrix coordinates. Okay, this is it. There are pretty much many options in this GUI. You can play around with them. Now the next interesting thing I want to show about this GUI is that you can visualize the orbitals, the molecular orbitals associated with the molecule, okay, which are calculated on this particular geometry which you provided. So just select 3D orbital and go here. So by default the orbital which is selected is the HOMO of H2O molecule. So let's visualize HOMO itself. So HOMO is selected. Okay, then you have to go to, let's say, solid surface. Then you say, well, this grid size of it, and okay. Oops. So this is a HOMO, but it's not coming out to be very good. I will increase the grid points a bit. It's becoming smooth a bit. Let me just there you go, buddy. You can see. So now you can see pretty much. Okay, so this is your HOMO for H2O molecule. But maybe more of the time you will not able to see that, okay, where is the electron density is concentrated, on which particular section it's concentrated more, on which particular section is concentrated less. So for that, to visualize that, you can just go over here and select wireframe. Well, what is the advantage of using wireframe is that you can visualize on which metal center electron density is more localized. Okay, so in this case you can see that for HOMO, in case of HOMO, electron density is distributed in this particular manner. That is the positive phase, that is the red portion, is more over on the hydrogen atoms, whereas the negative phase of the electron density is centered more onto the oxygen atom. Okay, so that's in there. So this stuff you can do with GAMESS. Okay, so there are pretty much very much features associated with GUI for GAMESS. As going through this video series, these video sessions, I will tell you more and more about the GUI features as we go along practicing on different molecules, some small molecules and some big molecules also. Now I just want to mention is that this might be your just first time of creating an input file, and associated with this there are higher chances of making an error, and that's completely fine. Okay, but to reduce the likelihood of errors and for providing a reference, I have attached a link to an example input file that you can refer to while creating your first input file. Okay, yeah, so this pretty much concludes the discussion on input file generation, execution, and visualization of the output file in GAMESS US. Well, in the next video, I will talk about different types of coordinate systems and other features of Matplotlib GUI for GAMESS US. By then, take care. Thank you so much. And if you like this video, subscribe to my channel. Just hit that bell icon and share this video with your friends in case they are interested in computational chemistry. So, thank you.